Hello, this is Professor Scott Norman from Pitt State University, and we're doing another interview in the series of Gorillas in the Midst of the Automotive Industry. Today we have Jorden Ellis, a 2018 graduate from a PSU. And Jorden, the reason why we're doing these interviews is that a lot of high school students, like myself, like you probably, just have no idea what jobs are out there in the automotive industry. Can you ever imagine, you as a high school student being a training instructor for Chrysler Corporation?
That never once crossed my mind that I would be an instructor whatsoever, all through high school, all through college. But in the last semester, it seemed like a really good idea. So.
Okay, well, that's what these are about. Is to hopefully try to get some high school students more knowledge of the automotive industry and what type of jobs are available. So let's start off by maybe talking a little bit about where your hometown is. If you studied any automotive classes in high school, or maybe what type of experience you had in the automotive industry at high school.
So I grew up in a small town about 50 miles from Pittsburgh. It's called Cherryville, Kansas, and our high school didn't have an automotive program, but it did have an FFA program that did welding. So I took FFA reluctantly just so I could do welding. So I did 3 years of welding in high school, but I never really had any automotive experience other than maybe just changing headlight bulbs or changing oil and stuff like that before going to Pitt State in 2015. So.
Okay. And so when you came to PSU in 2015, which area did you study in automotive technology?
So I started in the automotive mechanical design. At the time, it was a new emphasis area.
Yep.
So I had really thought about doing mechanical engineering. That was what I wanted to do ever since I was little. I mean, I always wanted to be an engineer. And so I started with design, and I remember my first semester looking at those classes, and it was like thermodynamics and stuff like that. And I had just finished in high school taking physics and chemistry and calculus and stuff like that. And so I was fairly confident with that stuff, but I didn't know if I had a passion for it. So I remember going to your office because you were my advisor. And I sat down and I said, I don't think I want to do this design program. I'm thinking about going into service management and marketing. And I'm glad I did because you put it pretty simple. I remember this vividly. You gave me a part. I don't remember what part it was. It was some part you had laying around, and you handed it to me.
It was think about this. It was a balance shaft on a 4-cylinder is what it was.
Yeah, and you said, what is this, or what is it made of? And I have no clue. And, well, do you really care what it's made of? How long it's going to last? And I was like, not really, just that what it is. And, okay, well, that's what engineers do. And that's when I decided, okay, yeah, probably not. And then later I took a class from Dr. Bach, the management organizational behavior, and that's where I really fell in love with people. Managing people, motivating people, getting them to do what you want them to do in a timely manner, stuff like that. So I knew that was the degree I wanted to do. And then obviously I graduated and I became a teacher. And I love it because I manage the classroom every day. So.
I know, it's kind of nice. It's like your own boss,
Yeah.
And so, yep, you get to do what you want to do. And what's kind of exciting about that position, being a training instructor, is that, you're around the product all the time. Every day you're doing technical stuff. And I tell students that, it's probably the most technical job that we do. Yeah. And it's also one of the most hands-on jobs that we do, where we're constantly on the product all the time, tearing it apart, figuring it out, on the bleeding edge of technology.
Yep. You don't realize how much stuff they don't tell you until you have to teach it.
Yep.
You got to research it and figure it out. It's a whole lot of fun. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah. So tell me what you did during college. Your 4 years at PSU, did you get any automotive experience while you were there?
So I worked at a dealership in Joplin, Missouri. It was funny. That was around the time 2015 was one of the peaks of the Takata airbag recall.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember getting an email from the college that said there's a dealership in Joplin, Missouri, about 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, looking for somebody to do airbag recalls for them. So I called the dealership and they hired me on the spot, which was really cool. So I worked there for 4 years, and I only really did airbags every day for the first 3 or 4 months. I mean, maybe. Um, and so that was like my step into the dealership world, and I became a technician. I did an apprenticeship with a technician, the master technician there, it was great to have that hands-on experience. And then eventually, once he retired, I became a technician, working the flat rate and stuff. And it was good to have that hands-on experience I hadn't had prior to going to school at Pitt State. So
Yeah, that's good, because I tell all my students, your first job is going to be as a technician. You could be sweeping the floor, you could be changing oil, changing tires, but you need to get that hands-on experience as
yeah.
a technician. And of course, you could stay like that, for the rest of your career, or you could maybe do something a little bit different, kind of like what you did. So tell me a little bit about, so you graduated in 2018 and Chrysler hired you straight out of PSU. Tell me what it was like going from a PSU student going into the world of training for Fiat Chrysler Automobiles.
So when I introduce to my students who I am, I always tell them, I say, I went from a small town of about 2,000 people to Pittsburgh, which is about 20,000 people, to Dallas, which is about 200 million people. And it was quite the culture shock to go from small town to Dallas, DFW area. But it was a lot of fun. I was a little nervous starting out, being the young guy there. But it was, I appreciate the job so much. I love the job, and it was a good choice for sure.
So tell me how Chrysler gets you ready for being an instructor, because I think most of my audience knows that I was a Chrysler training instructor also. Same as I remember being 24 years old, getting hired with Chrysler, and they shipping me out to Utah, and I had a car and I had a shop, and I was by myself, and I had all these classes I had to take, and that was kind of before the internet, and I had service manuals, and I would have to go back to my apartment and to read service manuals all night long in order to get ready for that battery class or that starting class or whatever I was teaching the next day. So how do they get you ready for that?
So what the model is, what they do is you'll typically watch a class, and classes are only, 2, sometimes 3 days long. They even have 1-day classes, but you'll typically watch the class, and then the next class, you'll you can either watch the class again, or you can do what they call a co-teach. And so that's where you will be more hands-on with the activities with the students. Instead of learning the material, now you're responsible in somewhat teaching the material. And then the third step, or sometimes the fourth step, depending on the subject, you actually teach the material, but you certify in the class, but there's another senior instructor there who tells you, they're just there to say if you're doing good or if you're doing bad or if you need to work on something. And it's really good. I've never had somebody who I certified with that's been negative. It's always been good and a fun time. And I always joke with my students. I said my boss gave me the hardest job because he said we had a high demand to teach hybrids when I first started. And I was in Dallas, in Texas, mind you, teaching Texas technicians about hybrids. And they see that it gave me the hardest job possible to teach hybrids in a conservative state like this, but it was fun. They shipped me, I remember the first class I learned, they shipped me up to Boston, Atlanta. I taught in Dallas, and I went to, they call it Succeed as a New Instructor in Pittsburgh. So I've been all over the place. And I remember I've gone to New Orleans. New Orleans was, well, the guy who usually teaches there was gone that week, so I was all by myself, had the whole building to myself. And then again, the same thing, had a guy in Tulsa have to get surgery, so I went up there and taught for a couple of weeks, all by myself, had the whole building to myself. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of responsibility, and I love it. So.
Yeah, and what's also exciting about that job is that you have the training center, so you have this whole entire shop that is your shop, that you have brand new tools, brand new components, brand new scan tools, brand new vehicles. You have all this cool technology around all the time that you can go out and play with and learn about and explore and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fun job. I couldn't imagine. I think I'll retire from this job if they'll let me.
Yeah, that's one of the bad things is that it is a fun job. Trust me, I had a great time doing it. Oh, what type of new vehicles do you have there that are fun to play with?
They don't give us any high horsepower stuff, which
Okay.
sucks, but I understand the reasoning. We do the coolest one, in my opinion. They got a Daytona Charger. It's just a 5.7 Hemi, but it's just cool to drive and fun to look at. Got the new JL Wrangler. It's probably my second favorite to drive. All of the new trucks, the 12.9 inch display on the trucks are fun. They all come with Sirius XM. It's just a good perk of the job.
Oh yeah. Now, do they give you a company car to drive around when you're traveling and everything?
Yep, I get a company car. I get gas allowance and stuff like that. They pay for my meals. It's good stuff.
Okay. So, what's your favorite car to drive then?
Um, well, I'd have to say for road trips, I got to say the truck, the 1500's the best. The 2500, the new 6.7 diesel, it's nice too. For me to say a diesel is nice, it's hard to say, but it is nice. So for long trips, those are good. For just showing off and being around the DFW area, though, you can't beat the Charger.
Charger's fun, yeah, that is, yeah, because the Chargers came out when I was working for Chrysler, so when those were brand spanking new, man, those were really cool with the Hemi engine and everything, yeah. So tell me a little bit about what is the future for you with Chrysler? I mean, anything exciting that you're going to be doing, or any special training events? Also, what about 2020 vehicles coming out? Is there anything new coming out for this year?
There are some new products coming out. There's rumors about the Grand Wagoneer that's coming out.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that. So we'll see what that looks like. And there's a few other models that are coming out that I've been told about, but I'm not supposed to say, so I'll keep that to myself. But you'll be pretty excited to see it. The new hybrid line's coming out. The Jeep, they just announced a few months ago. They're calling it a 4xe. All of the Jeeps are getting a hybrid option with it, which is going to be super cool. So that's stuff coming out in 2020, 2021 that I'm looking forward to. So.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, on that job, you're just on what we call the bleeding edge of technology. That you know more than anybody else. And I remember getting the brand new vehicles before they were even released, and driving around these new minivans or these new Dodge trucks. I remember driving around an old 94 brand new Dodge truck, and it was the only one west of the Mississippi. So it's kind of fun to be on that. So what type of advice can you give maybe that high school student that is looking possibly doing something that you're doing, being successful in the automotive industry? What type of career advice can you give them, as now you have gone through that, you've been successful, now try to give back to these high school students?
So I jotted down, I knew this question was coming, so I jotted down a few bullet points I want to talk about. So the first one I wrote down was just ask a lot of questions. Ask as many questions as you possibly can. If you don't understand something, or if you want to learn more about the program, if you want to learn, whatever it might be, ask as many questions as you possibly can and absorb all of that information that you get. The second one I put down was network. Network with everybody that you can. Know all of your professors, know all of your classmates. Give it on first name basis. When you guys do the automotive orientation day, and you bring in all the businesses that come in, and the students walk around, talk to them, the business heads, talk to all of those guys. Every single one of them. I never once was ever interested in doing collision or body work, but every time I'd still go talk to the Sherwin-Williams guys. I'd still go talk to those guys just to network and know that I know this guy now. He knows my face, and it's the repetitiveness. Seeing that guy, you're more likely to get hired if the person knows you. So I remember talking to Cecil, my boss, every single year, twice a year at Automotive Orientation Day, and the other one in the fall that you guys do with all the businesses. So that's a big one. Network with everybody. I mean, I have so many automotive friends and so many people that are influential. So the third thing I had was get as much hands-on experience as you can. You know, hands-on experience is what they're looking for on when they're going to hire these guys, especially my boss. He's looking to see if you've been in a dealership. Go, you know, if you've been in a dealership, if you had an internship, if you've been, you know, whatever it is, how were you learning the product or learning what to do? So, and also I put diversify your class choices. I wouldn't have ever probably changed my emphasis or been sure about my emphasis change if I hadn't taken management and organizational behavior, which if you'd asked me in high school if I'd be taking that class, I'd have told you you're crazy. So diversify as many of your classes as you can as you go through the program, and just learn. You learn a lot about yourself in college and what you want to do, and that's something that you should do. I regret not taking some of the classes that I wanted to take. Take as many speech classes as you can, get comfortable speaking, because every single class, I think your last year of college has you do about 15 presentations, and that's a good thing. So, and then finally, last one I said, keep an open mind. I mean, I never once thought I'd be an instructor, and I love it. So just keep your mind open to options and opportunities and seize them when they arrive. So.
Wow, fantastic advice, Jorden, man. That is great. Hey, I'm going to try to visit you during the summertime to try to take some of your classes down in Dallas. So
Yeah,
I'll be in contact with you on that.
yeah.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Jorden. This is fantastic. And folks, if you're wanting more of these interviews in order to hear other students as far as what type of careers are out there for the automotive industry, please look at my Professor Pentane YouTube channel, or you could follow me on YouTube. Just look for Professor Pentane. Thank you very much, and you guys have a good night.